Okay, what I've done so far is I have taken 12-pound test fluorocarbon and put a perfection loop on it, and I have put it on the end of the fly line, and I put on 15 feet of the 12-pound test fluoro. And the next thing you want to do before you tie anything up is put your float on, your indicator. And I put it on upside down, and the reason for that, the peg is on the bottom, and the reason for that is if you ever break off on a fish, if you don't have the peg on the bottom, the float will come off and end up out in the lake, and you'll have to go and chase it. So if you put it on upside down, there is a swivel, a small barrel swivel on this end, and the pin cannot go by the barrel swivel. So no matter what you break off on the tippet underneath the swivel, you always retain the float, and you don't have to pull the anchor and go and chase it. So now I need to find a swivel. We need to dig out a swivel. And now I brought some. There.
Okay.
Now we've got the float on. The next thing we need to do is put the swivel on. And the swivel, size 14, is very important for two reasons. It adds weight when you're going down 18 or more feet. It adds weight, and it also, when you're changing tippet, you put on maybe 4 feet of tippet. As the tippet gets shorter and shorter as you're changing flies, your main line with the float on it never changes its length. You're just shortening the tippet up to the barrel swivel, and you just add on another piece of tippet onto the barrel swivel. So everything on the float stays consistent to the depth you want. What I like to use, if possible, is polymer knot. It's one of the strongest knots you can put on, and if things start to break, the polymer knot will be the last one to go. So that's on the top of the barrel swivel with the polymer knot. And after you've done that and you put on your tippet, you can't use a polymer knot. You can only use a clinch knot, because you cannot slide the barrel swivel through once you've tied one end. So that's the 12-pound test. Now what we're going to do is, you can go down to 6 or 8 pound test. Depends on the size of the fish. So we're going to put some 6-pound fluorocarbon tippet. Now the length depends on how deep you're fishing. I have put 15 feet of main line on, down to the swivel. If I want to fish 20 feet, I need to put 5 feet of tippet on, giving me a length of 20 feet down. If you want to go deeper than 20 feet, you need to extend the main line that the float is on. Then you want to go perhaps 17 or 18 feet of main line with the float, and then you only need to add 3 to 4 or 5 feet of tippet. So there we are. We've used some Seaguar tippet, and it doesn't matter as long as it's a good quality. And now we're just going to add that onto the barrel swivel, and we'll just do a clinch knot. I like to do about 6 turns on a clinch knot. Give it a little saliva and finish the knot off. And lots of saliva, especially on fluorocarbon. You don't want to burn it. So there we are. It looks small, 6 pound, but it's all you need. It'll hold many a big fish. Now the rest boils down to your choice of fly. If it's early in the morning or if the chironomids aren't really on, then I would probably suggest going to one of the leech patterns. Okay? And a color choice is dependent on what they're looking for. Burgundy, blacks, greens, or a mixture. Purple works really well. So there's your leech. What we're going to do today, since we're more interested in setting up and trying chironomids, we're going to put on a size 16 or 14. This happens to be a 16. We're going to put on a size 16, black and red with a white top. Some people call it a snow cone, whatever, but it's a black and red with a white bead top. So what we put that on with is a loop knot. And you can look up a loop knot on the internet, or Lefty Cray loop knot, as long as it's a loop knot, because you want that chironomid jiggling around. You don't want it solid down there. Chironomids are pretty active little guys, and so you want it to jiggle around as much as possible at the level the fish are at. So here's the loop knot. I'm doing the Lefty Cray, as it's been called, 3 times around and back through the original loop you made and wet it. And just pull it tight. And make sure the knot is tight. And then you end up with a nice loop knot on there, so that it's free to wiggle around. And that's about it. You're now ready to go fishing. You're all set up. The next thing you need, you can either measure from your depth sounder. If I'm in 20 feet and I want to fish 17, I need an accurate measurement. I can go across my boat as long as I know how long it is. Or I can borrow Tim's forceps. I can borrow the forceps, and there's 2 things here. You hook on the forceps, just make sure they lock nice and tight. Send it down to the bottom, mark where it is, come up 1, 2, or 3 feet, and put the float there. So you would bring this up, drop the float down. When you're up at least 2 to 3 feet, then clip in your float, and that way you're always at that consistent depth. If you don't have the forceps, I've had this made. It's an alligator clip with lead on the bottom, and it does exactly the same thing. It's just a little bit smaller and handier, and the alligator clips go on, and I send that down to the bottom, again setting my float where I'm just off the bottom, and it just works really fine. Once you've been into fish and you know their depth, like I said, if you know exactly your boat and you go across, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3 times, I know that that's 15 feet. And if that's where the fish are, or I can add a foot, I know whether it's 16, so I'll just add a foot, and then I'll plug my my indicator in so that I know I'm at that particular depth. So I think the best thing now is to just get it in the water and see what we can come up with.